Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please stand to receive the Town Mayor of Biddulph, Councillor Adrian Porter, Deputy Town Mayor of Biddulph, Councillor Charlie Smith, and the Chief Officer, Mrs. Sarah Hayden. Call upon Reverend Darren Fraser to lead us in prayer.
Thank you for the invitation to be here. And I know I've just been recently reflecting on my time here. I've been here around about 13 years now. And when I arrived sort of Knipersley and for Biddulph Moor, and there were some people on Biddulph Moor, maybe they were a little concerned that they couldn't understand my accent. But we reminded each other that that might work both ways. I was told, well, he'll do for here. So it's good to be here. But I'm just reflecting on the time when we've all been at some point chosen, voted for to serve our communities. And that certainly went on at my interview. There was a vote in the end, and they said, yes, we'll vote for him to come. And so really serving's on my heart to serve my community, to serve our area. And I just want us to remember in prayer tonight, just before I just offer a verse of scripture, the councillor Andrew Hart, who I know has served faithfully for around 22 years. And so we will pray for his recovery back to full health. The question is, for me, as I reflected on a verse of scripture, which is from Mark chapter 10, verses 45, for even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. And so even for Jesus, he makes it clear that he came to serve. So we're all here to serve, but I wonder what type of legacy we will leave. What will we be remembered for? I certainly hope at some point in the future, whenever that is, when I leave, I'm hoping that there'll be some kind things said about me and some nice things. But of course, when we think about Jesus, he came to serve. And he gave his life upon the cross. And that's what we will always remember him for. But what about this idea of our legacy? There's so much in the media at the moment, negativity, and which one do we choose? Do we choose truth or do we choose lies? Do we choose honesty or dishonesty, love or hate? Trust versus mistrust. I mean, I could go on, but what is it that we want to be remembered for? Well, tonight I'm going to pray that, well, first of all, give thanks for all of you here. And I can honestly say from my heart that it's a lovely place to live, this area. And I'm so pleased that the town council works together for the good of our area and our community. So what is it we want to be remembered for? And just on that note, I just want to pray. And Lord, we thank you for Councillor Andrew Hart, and we thank you for that he served faithfully for 22 years. We pray for Andrew and his family. We do pray for his recovery. And Lord, as the town council meets tonight, Lord, I pray that we will be reminded, Lord, that we've been called to serve our communities, serve our areas for the good Lord. And so, Lord, I pray tonight for your blessing upon this meeting. May you lead it, I pray. May you give each person the wisdom that they need, I pray. Lord God, thank you for this area. Thank you for this place where we live. And we pray for your continued blessing upon it. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. Amen.
Make a comment.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. This is the disclaimer. This meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Biddulph Town Council YouTube page. The aim is that decision-making should be transparent and in the public domain, which will involve more of our community in local democracy. By being in this council chamber, you are consenting to being recorded and for your image to be added to YouTube. The images and sound may be used for training purposes. Any views expressed are the speaker's own and do not necessarily reflect the view of Biddulph Town Council. Please view the guidance on recording in public meetings policy if you need more information. So I would like now to welcome everyone to this meeting held on the 11th of November 2025 of Biddulph Town Council. And would like to start by pointing out that any attendees will be named in the minutes unless otherwise instructed. We now turn to the agenda item that starts our proceedings tonight, item number 56, public participation. And in order to fulfill this very pleasurable task, I would ask, please, Mrs. Sue Garvey from the Biddulph Yarn Barns to join me at the front of the dais.
Mr. Mayor, as you're well aware, the Yarn Barns are a local community group who love nothing more than creating weird and wonderful yarn creations to display in the town. And at this point, I want to thank the Town Council for their support in allowing us to do this. One of the other things we do is organise an event called Kate's, the Craft Art and Textile event. And this has a couple of benefits. One is to raise funds that enable us to carry on with our activities, but also it enables us to give something back to the town. For the people of Biddulph who do seem to really appreciate what we do. The latest Kate's event was on the 1st of November, and we had a really successful event. And on the back of that, with the profits that we made, I'm absolutely delighted to present you with a cheque on behalf of the Yarn Barns to go towards your mayor's charities for the sum of £450. Thanks.
Thank you. My time to reply. God, when I've got my breath back. I've got some words written. Yeah. Okay. We've got this will help too. I've got words like creative, skillful, cultural, timely, appropriate, and most of all, joyous, giving pleasure to all passers-by. I think all of those describe your wonderful work around the town. And I didn't want to miss any of those out. So many thanks indeed for the cheque for an astonishing amount, and all power to your needles or crochet hooks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Just thank you very much. I think my head in the background.
Now, everyone, we turn to the next item, item 57. Oh, so we're still 56. The second item, the Staffordshire Police. Tonight, I believe, we have PCSO officers Scott Parry and Georgina Cantrell. Welcome both.
Hi, everyone. I'm quite happy to go straight into questions if need be, just due to the time, just as you're aware, we need to be out there. So any questions you've got?
Yes, please, Councillor.
Thank you. It's not so much a question, so much as a request. You get a number of complaints about people using Station Road and the junction coming out of Craigside about cars parked very close to the traffic lights. Now, I understand that the most likely residents, and I understand parking is difficult down there, but just these last few days, they parked right up to the traffic lights. Now, strictly speaking, that is part of the clearway. And I don't think that's fully understood by the implications of parking there. It is quite a strict road traffic penalty to stop on a clearway. And if you see the sign is far enough down to keep the traffic light clear. Now, what I'm requesting is not that you go straight to a ticket and prosecution or whatever, but if you could possibly identify the owners and have a quiet word about making it clear that it's a clearway.
Yes.
But I do not want, a sledgehammer to crack a nut.
Oh.
Sorry. But one of these days, a traffic patrol officer will treat it as a clearway. That may well attract penalty points, not just a fine, you see. So I think before something awful happens one way or the other with an accident through lack of visibility, or somebody agrees that all of a sudden they've got a very big parking fine whatsoever, I think a quiet word would be very nice if that's possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Garvey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick update, if you can give us one on, we've been a number of reports, I've seen them myself, the young men on electric bikes wheeling down the high street. It is obviously dangerous and it's quite concerning. Could you give us an update on if there's been any progress on pursuing them, please?
So in regards to pursuing them literally, you're aware that we don't, as Staffordshire Police, in our policies, we don't pursue unless it's, and I know I say this lightly, involved in crime or high level crime. As they are, it is dangerous, they're up and down the road. Spoke to the road crime team and it's basically ASB, it's still classed as ASB. We are, again, it's enough for us as well. We are trying to deal with it, but unless we can identify who they are, again, Balaclava, that's where we're struggling to deal with. But reports are still coming in, and yes, you are right, and it is correlated to the road crime team. Okay.
There has been some bikes seized on Cheshire side. So hopefully, with the orders that have been put in place on those individuals, which have been, maybe that'll just stop it for a short period of time. It's never going to go away, unfortunately.
And when we say seized on Cheshire side, they've been seized on Cheshire side from members, right, from nominals of Biddle.
Okay, okay, thank you very much for that update. Thank you.
Councillor Jackson, please.
Yeah, it's not sort of report any crime. We've got the ongoing issues with bikes up on Church Close, but that's as being managed as well as it could be. But while we've got you, while you're here, and I don't expect you, and I don't really want you to comment on, is the disturbing reports that the Police and Crime Commissioner are looking at reducing PCSO hours. And I think we as a town council should come to a view on that, what we think about that. And I think we should come to a consensus and write to the Police and Crime Commissioner and fire. Perhaps it's a subcommittee or one of our committees to actually discuss that. Because I think when PCSOs were first, and I'm holding to them, when it was first brought in, there was a heck of a lot of criticism, coppers on the cheap and all that. But you are much more than that. You are information gatherers, your feet on the ground, you're out in the community. And any reduction in those hours, for me, is a reduction in a service. And I think the town council should perhaps sit at one of the subcommittees, sit down and discuss this and come to a consensus and write to the Police and Crime Commissioner to whatever view we come to, register our feelings about it. I really don't expect you, wouldn't want you to comment on that, wouldn't want to put you in that position. I think the town council's got a duty to do that.
I can say if you do require any more information in regards to that, I'm happy to take details and pass them over to our Unison, listen, I'm talking script. So this is what I've been advised to say. If you want to give me your details, I will pass them details on to our Unison, and Unison will give you more information if you require it. Okay, thank you for that. That's brilliant.
Thank you for your answer. I should like to ask councillors' views as Councillor Jackson suggests, we refer it to the Town and Communities Committee.
Yes, that was going to be my comment was if Councillor Jackson.
Well, would you like to make a comment, Councillor Garvey?
What I was going to suggest was if Councillor Jackson was proposing that you put that to the Town and Community Commission on the agenda, I was happy to second that proposal.
Right, so shall we vote on that proposal, please? Carried. We do that, thank you. And the Deputy Mayor would like.
I did ask on the last attendance at the last town council meeting, just regards, again, on the e-bikes and e-scooters. We're coming up to Christmas now, and I mentioned this last time, it's the prime time that parents are going to be buying these things for the children, possibly unaware of the legalities around what they're buying. And I did ask last time if some social media campaigns can go out across Staffordshire, whether you can send something out through Staffordshire Smart Alert, yes, any other platforms that we've got, just to inform parents that, you know, possibly this lovely thing that the child's asking for is probably not that great an idea.
Yeah.
And just raise a bit more awareness of it, because I think it's probably going to become a bit more of an issue in January. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or points to be made to the officers, please? No. In which case, may I thank you both for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now we turn to item 57, which is to receive an update from County Council representatives. Despite being invited to be present tonight, we haven't had, the Chief Officer advises me, she has not had a response, and neither is either member here. So that needs to be said. However, Councillor Jones has a point here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, firstly, if we haven't even had apologies, that's disgraceful. I'll say that first. And I'm not taking them off for any. I've got 7 questions, and I've got them written down here. I've emailed them to Councillor Broom. I'm really disappointed that he's not here, but actually not surprised. And if you'll indulge me, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to read them out because they're quite old issues. If you don't mind,
please do, Councillor.
One-liners.
Please do.
Let me just read them out. The first one is obviously the traffic calming situation in Biddulph. Our previous county councillor, Councillor Yates, got it to a point where we were looking for public consultation, and it just needed a switch flicking on that basically to get that going. Nothing's happened. I sent him an email on that on the 20th of May. On the 22nd of August, I sent him an email about a damaged pavement by the bus stop in Biddulph. He finally replied to that on November the 1st, saying he mentioned it again and he'd keep me informed. These others I've had no reply on. Recliff Road potholes up Biddulph, they're dreadful. 9th of June I sent that. parking on the verge outside the villas on Tunstall Road. I know these aren't my wards, but I did copy the ward councillors. Verge parking outside the villas on Tunstall Road, sent that 28th of June. Speed signage markings at the top of Woodhouse Lane, sent that 17th of August. State of the pavement opposite Biddlefmore First School, I sent that on the 24th of August. I have got a few more, but I'll get some answers to those first. The fact that I had nothing back from either of them, and I've sent it to Councillor Broome and copied Councillor Eggington, I've had nothing back. It's nothing short of disgraceful. What are we paying these people for? They don't seem to want to do anything. They're not here tonight. Why are they not here tonight? It's part of their obligation to come and keep communication up with us. It was always done by Councillor Flunner. It was always done by Councillor Yates. Why aren't they here? I really would like an answer to that. So there we go. I'll keep reading them out until I get some answers for them. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that contribution, Councillor Jones. Councillor Yates wishes to speak on that first.
Yes, thank you. I have to say I'm very disappointed. It's an obligation for the county councillors to attend, unless they've got something more important on. It's certainly an expectation that if they can't attend for whatever reason, then they give their apologies. Preceding myself and Councillor Flunner, Councillor Lawson never missed one. He had a period of ill health, which was well known, but he still managed to attend when he could. And it's important that they aren't just responsible for answering queries and questions from the floor. We need to know what's going on at county and what initiatives impact the town council, impact us as councillors, and that is the form. It's a two-way conversation, not a one-way conversation. It's certainly not a which on. The thing which really disappoints me is that later on the next meeting's agenda is we've got two significant traffic safety improvement proposals, which have been capital funded as a carryover from the previous administration. It's two proposals which I submitted and the previous administration approved them for going forward. They need a few tweaks, I think we'll agree when we discuss, but without having our representatives to make our position clear to them, then they cannot act as advocates, not for us, but our residents who've been crying out for these safety improvements. And that is going to be a big miss when our representation goes to the county. It'll be a letter from the town council without the support or otherwise of the county councillors advocating on behalf of the town folk of Biddulph, not the 22 councillors here. And they are abdicating their duties as far as I'm concerned. Very, very disappointing.
Thank you. Councillor Proudlove, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think there's a bit of a saying, isn't there? If something happens, a one-off event, fair enough, but there seems to be a pattern. Last Monday, I was at the District Council, Moorlands Growth Board. The representative from the County Council on the Moorlands Growth Board is the deputy leader. He didn't turn up to the meeting and he did submit apologies either. And the fact of the matter, it's a very southern-centric authority these days, I would argue. And that makes the representation from the two Biddulph councils even more important, I would suggest. And the fact that they are not here is beyond concerning, I would say. You know, it's clear that county councils in the north of the county have little sway and influence over the administration in Stafford. So, you know, are we getting sent a message here that the county councillors don't feel that they can deliver on behalf of the people of Biddulph?
Thank you. So we've now heard three quite detailed inputs, had quite detailed inputs, all pointing in that same direction as one another, really. What do you propose we might be able to do about it in the short term? May I invite, please, any comment?
Councillor Jackson.
Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, before we come to what we can do about it, I think I was a county council. I used to go over to Brownedge and Endon for their parish council meetings on a reasonably regular basis. You couldn't make them all, and fully understand that. And if I couldn't go, I always told them a reason why I wasn't there. And now we have had county councillors who have come, I mean, Councillor Fundy travelled from Utoxeter to come to our meetings. I mean, different party to me, but I always had that in my back of my mind, that the man was always prepared to come and talk to the county council and let us know what was happening at the county. Councillor Jones said in his speech, what are we paying them for? Oh, but what are we paying them? It's over £10,000 a year. They're both probably on some special responsibility as chair and vice chair of a little Mickey Mouse committee. So they're on over £10,000 a year. Not all of us around this table, not a penny piece do we get for coming here, and we come here because we love this town. Now, I really, when it comes to what we can do about it, surely they've got enough political nous to work out that in a few years' time, the district council isn't going to be there. The county council isn't going to be there. But this council will be here with probably more responsibilities for these unpaid councillors. Won't be me, by the way, but for the unpaid council that give up their time freely for the good of this town. It is really disappointing that they haven't come. It's incomprehensible and unforgivable that they haven't even sent any sort of apologies or any reason why. Because it makes me feel as a town councillor that our elected representatives for the wards in Biddle just don't really care about the town. And that's the impression they are giving, not the one I'm giving here. That's the impression they are giving to me, that they don't care about this town. And that is really heartbreaking for somebody who's been involved with local politics for more years than I care to remember. And all the councillors that have gone before as well, all of the county councillors have gone before. Now, right back to Doris Lithgow and George Humphreys, they cared about this town. We've got representatives now that give the impression that they don't care about this town. Now, this will go out live, no doubt, or not quite live, but when it does go out, no doubt the keyboard warriors will be in, that the town council are now attacking our elected representatives. We're not attacking you. We want you to come here. We want to work with you. We want you to access funds at the county council that can be brought back to Biddle and do things in this town. That's what we want you for. Not to attack you. You've been duly elected. And that's, the people have spoken. And I certainly accept that 100% that they are our representatives. I think they need to realise that they are our representatives. This town council, as well as the people of Biddle, they've got a responsibility, I believe, to this town council to actually talk to us, convey with us. Now, I don't know whether it's the format they don't like. I know we tried something before and it was a real waste of time because there was no accountability whatsoever, because nothing was sort of written down, whether it was what we asked them to do or anything coming back, so we didn't get any sort of feedback. And this format that we're suggesting now is a format that we've had for a number of years and it's worked very, very well. Even people with political differences, like I say, Keith Flunder's a different party to me, but Keith was never made to feel as though it was a hostile environment when he came here. He came here and from certainly on our side, different political party. Keith was treated exactly the same as Nigel was, as far as I can remember. We never sort of had a real go at it. So where we go for the future, can I just suggest that when this goes out, there will be some stuff coming back. There's no doubt about that. But we as a town council say, we'll write to you again with the date of the next meeting and ask you to attend, or if you can't attend, at the very least, give us a reason why you can't. And I'll leave it at that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much for that passionate contribution. Councillor Jones again.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to speak to us. I just wanted to add, it isn't just that they're not here. They're just not engaging at all. Hands up in this council if you've had a productive email exchange with either of our new two county councillors. See, nobody. I can't even give people, when they ask me about a county highways issue, I can't even give them Councillor Broom's telephone number because it's not in the public domain. I've got it, but I'm not prepared, without his permission, to put it in the public domain. I'm waiting for him to give me that permission. Because all I can say to him is, that's his email address. Well, if they haven't got a computer, that's stuffed them for the start off. And even if they have, all of the county councils seem to have the same out-of-office message that pops up. If you send it any time in the week, it'll say, we only deal with emails at weekends or something. So if there's an urgent issue that comes up, you've got no chance of getting it done quickly. I have no axe to grind against either of the two county councils. As Councillor Jackson says, it's democracy. They were elected, they're our representatives, but they've got to work with us. And these aren't my questions. These are people's punters' questions, voters' questions. They're not mine. It's people that want the answers, not me. And I can't give them the answers, and I can't say, I can't do anything about it because it's a county issue. And then they think I'm sloping it off. In the past, I could say, I'll speak to your county councillor and between us, we'll sort it out. I can't do that anymore because they will not engage. And that's what they've got to do. Really, I don't care whether they come here or not, as long as they talk to me. And they're not, neither of them. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you for that again. Is there anyone else wish to speak? Yes, please, Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll go one step further, I think. I think they're treating us with contempt, to be fair. There are issues, as Councillor Jones has alluded to, that need to be resolved by the county council. And the only way we can do that is through our county councillors to represent the residents of Biddulph, and clearly that's not happening. So I suggest we write to the leader of the county council, who obviously is in the same party as the two representatives in Biddulph, and to say that we're disappointed that the county councillors who represent the Biddulph area are not turning up to meetings when requested to by the town council. We can't enforce the leader of the council to make any recommendations, but you would have thought, for the reputation of his own party, that he would encourage the two Biddulph councillors to attend meetings to listen to residents' concerns and problems. Because it certainly seems to me now as if they've got elected, they've got their feet under the table, and they're just not really that interested in anybody's concerns and problems that are going on a daily basis in the area of Biddulph. So I suggest we write to the leader of the county council. As I say, we can't ask him to impose anything on the two councillors. But what we can do is ask him to reiterate that if we invite them as a town council, they should attend the meetings, if only just to listen to what the residents' concerns are. Even if they don't want to listen to the Biddulph town councillors, they should have an obligation to listen to the residents' concerns, which have come through the town councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Wood.
Yeah, most have been said really, but at the end of the day, they are the elected people, as has been said, and they are the people getting the money, as has been said. And all I'm requesting that we have a monthly update of what county is doing, because people asking what the questions are don't know. We haven't had a reply back from county. That's what we're asking for, even if they're not sitting in this seat. Let us know via email or something the updates so we can pass it on to council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rogers, for that. Thank you.
Do you want to
So,
Councillor Woods as a proposal?
well, we've had really two proposals, haven't we, initially?
Second Chris's proposal.
Would you? Right. In which case, Councillor Wood's proposal, can we be clear, please, what it
Yes,
is?
we write to the leader of the county council to express our disappointment that they haven't been attending meetings, to reiterate that they should attend and that they have an obligation to listen to residents.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Councillor Jackson.
Thank you. So this proposal that letter is sent by the chief officer to the leader and not to the individual councillors.
Oh,
The leader.
To the leader, thank you. But the late point, please, councillor.
And just, can we add to that basically the previous county councillors, Councillor Yates, Councillor Lawton and Councillor Flunder always used to come and actually give us an update as to what was going on at the county. And that is the least they should be doing. And if we could add that in, that is what we've come to expect, that previous county councillors have done that. And this is what has become the norm.
Happy to have that.
Are you happy for that to be added, councillor?
And no disrespect, councillor, but I just think if we write directly No, they shouldn't have to be reminded that previous councillors have done that. They've been invited, they've had an official invite to come to the town council to listen to the residents' views. So the fact that it's gone on previously, and Councillor Hawley, I agree with the sentiment to what you're saying, but I just think we should go to their bosses, the leader of the council, at the county council, and say they're not doing the job they've been elected to do. And we would encourage you to either speak to them, write to them, and encourage them to turn up to this town council. Because I think that's the only way, is if they it comes down from their line manager, if you like, as leader of the council, to speak to them, to say, it's part of your obligations, you should turn up to the town council.
So you propose
Not to.
maintaining brevity to the point.
I just think we should write directly to the leader of the county council to say disappointed that they aren't turning up when invited, officially invited, and can you encourage them to do so in future?
Thank you. Councillor Jackson, the point, please.
Yeah. I mean, the one downside with that is we've got no guarantee that the leader of the county council actually speaks to them. There's an out there for them. So I would suggest that we still write to them and invite them to the next town council meeting. I think that's really important. And we keep writing to them. If they don't come next time, we write to them as part of Sarah's job. She rubber stamps it, sends the email off at a certain time, a couple of weeks before the town council is due to meet, that they get an invite every time.
So, no problems.
Proposer and a seconder on Councillor Wood.
Right, so proposal and seconder for Councillor Wood's suggestion with Councillor Jackson's.
Well, we do that.
Not there anyway, we do that, of course.
Thank you. Proposals? Have we had a proposal and seconder?
Councillor Wood,
Went.
Councillor Jackson.
Thank you.
Can I add a forthwith, please?
Deputy Mayor.
Have a show of hands.
Forthwith. So those in favour of the motion, please. It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, that was going to be quick. No, it's fine. The next item, item 58, involves a guest night. Sarah Roberts. Now, Sarah's sitting there quietly at the back. I haven't had a chance to have a word before this. Welcome, Sarah, on behalf of Biddulph Town Council. Sarah's going to give us a presentation about Support Staffordshire's Local Help My Way project. Sarah.
Are you happy there? You do need the screen, do you need anything?
No, I'm just going to talk, if that's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, do prod me because I have information to talk. And time is up, I need to be quiet. Okay, so thank you very much for inviting me, councillors. There. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late. Traffic coming through Stoke was worse than I anticipated otherwise. So, as my introduction said, my name's Sarah Roberts. I work for Support Staffordshire. Does everybody know who Support Staffordshire are, or do I need to explain that? Not? Anybody not know? Yep, that's great. That's a good start. Okay. So the project I'm here to introduce to you, Local Help My Way, is a new pilot scheme. I'm almost hesitant to say it after the last round of conversation. It's being funded by the County Council. It's basically a new level of social care, sometimes referred to as the edge of care. And it's about something called micro-providers, which everybody goes, what's a micro-provider? You know, it's quite a new concept around here. But it is not a brand new concept elsewhere. We're just quite late to the party. So we are basing our model on a model that's been developed in Somerset and has been running successfully for 10 years. I've got a few figures to just tell you a little bit about theirs. So, as I say, their model started 2015, was started off by a chap called Reese, who decided to go and sit in a pub somewhere and talk to people about what they thought about the state of social care at the moment, particularly for people like those that have a long-term disability or a long-term health condition that is life-affecting, and the elderly. And again, he'd looked at other models from Europe and so on, and he encouraged people to just come and give him feedback
and then on behalf of Somerset Council, set this up. So what is a micro-provider? It is a self-employed person more often than not. So it's a little bit, I'm a bit of a lone ranger in Support Staffordshire, because this is not a voluntary thing or a community organisation. It's very much about self-employment and creating jobs for people who may not already be able to access the workplace. So you can imagine a typical micro-provider might be a single mum that's got children at school and she can only work between, let's say, 10 and 3. So there is an opportunity for her to work, but she can't necessarily find a paid employment doing that because of what goes on when you have children. You have to live in there. It might be somebody who has their own health conditions that can only do a few hours a week, or it might be somebody who's already been working in the care sector, wants to leave, but set up on their own. So it could be a whole range of people. If I'm really honest, we're getting about 80% people that are coming to talk to us about it are women, and we do need more men. So there's a plea going out. If you're talking to people about this at all, please do encourage them to get in touch. And what do? So they can provide any sort of care. So it does sound really, really vague. Funnily enough, I was there at the district council last night with the scrutiny committee, who absolutely roasted me because it is a really vague description. It could be what's known as domiciliary care, which is, bathing, dressing, getting people out of bed, feeding them, giving them medication, the whole shebang. It could be something like just home help, going in and just helping people to access the community, maybe get their meals, help them with a little bit of housework and laundry, maybe take them shopping, that kind of thing. What we used to know, those of you that are my age and older, as home helps. It could be gardening, it could be cleaning, it could be DIY, it could be podiatry, it could be whatever somebody needs to enable them to stay at home for longer and remain well, both physically and mentally. So it's one of its focuses is about slowing down the charge of people into the mainstream social care system. I have had a few people sort of say, does that not mean that we're going to be in competition with the care agencies that are already out there and the care homes? And I would argue that we're not, because if you need to be in a home, you will still go in a home. My micro-provider is not going to replace that type of service, because we are talking about a micro-provision, potentially somebody going in once a week to take somebody shopping, or, somebody going in once a week to take somebody down to their local over 60s lunch or something like that. It is a very small scale thing. But rather than think of it as just a small scale project that's not going to make a difference, if I refer back to the Somerset figures, so they have 1,250 micro-providers across the county who provide 30,000 hours worth of support for 6,000 people. I was just quickly Googling on my phone because I was terribly prepared how many people we have in Biddulph. And according to Google, it's about 20,000. And about a third of them are over 60. So that gives you an idea of actually the population that we might be targeting are not that dissimilar to what they're achieving in Somerset. If you actually work that out at £20 an hour, somebody earning, I can't remember what the actual figure was, but it was quite impressive. It was something like £628,000 a week coming into local economy. So it's got two sides to it. There is the side where it's a bit of economic development in terms of job creation and getting people off benefits or other entitlements that they might be claiming, but also that it's going to really contribute to the social care system. Personally, I tend to think more holistically than that, possibly because I'm a Support Staffordshire bod, but I think more in terms of the impact that could make to people. So, I'm sure I'm not alone in the room in knowing sort of lonely, elderly people that find it difficult to get out and about and to access, their local knit and natter group, or to be able to go and do their shopping, and how loneliness can actually affect you and your mental health, and how they tend to sometimes just give up. So the fact somebody can go in and it would be the same person going in, not somebody from a care agency where you don't know who's coming, you don't know what time they're coming at. I sometimes share this story, so I'm going to go for it. I recently lost my aunt. She was 91. And up until about 3 years ago, she was fit as a fiddle, really. She used a walker, like many elderly do, but she was, you know, she'd got all her marbles, she was with it. And like nothing better than going out for fish and chips and watching the chase. She was a typical 91-year-old lady living on her own. But then she had a fall. And as a result of a fall, we needed carers to come in. And I didn't know that everybody is entitled to choice about who cares for them. And somebody actually, when I was down at the Methodist, the Victoria Centre, said to me, how did you not know that you have a choice? It's because I've never been in the position before. Nobody told me. So how would I know? You don't know what you don't know. So I just assumed that what was put in place by social services, that was it. We either accepted it or we went without. So they put in place 4 care calls a day. Each care call was half an hour. So by the time they turned up, and it's no disrespect to the actual care agency themselves or the carers, they were all lovely girls, but there was about 25 of them on Molly's team. And they'd, you know, put in the key code to get in, we had to install, let themselves in, shout up the stairs, morning Molly. She had no idea who was coming into her house. Imagine how vulnerable that would have made her feel. And then by the time they'd literally got her up, got her dressed, took her downstairs, you're lucky they had time to give her a bowl of bran flakes, and off they went. Sometimes she didn't even get breakfast and a cup of tea because they were under constant pressure to go on to the next call, which could be 5 miles away, 10 miles away. You know, it's just a system which is actually a little bit broken, or not broken, depending on your personal point of view. But if I'd had the option, as her primary person, if you like, she'd got no children of her own, to say, actually, I want to choose who's going to come and look after her. And I'm going to go on a website and I'm going to look through all the options that are available with people doing this in my local area. And I'm going to interview a couple of them and decide who's the nicest one. And that's the person that's going to fit Molly. And she's going to come in every day and get Molly up and possibly stay for a little bit longer and make her a hot meal. Sit with her while she eats it. And that's 2 hours that she's going to get a day rather than this fragmented sort of system that she was in. I think she'd probably still be with me because the care that she received meant that actually she lost, I think it was 4 stone in 6 months. She had 5 more falls. The one day they called me and said that a light bulb needed changing in her living room and they couldn't do it because of health and safety, so they left her sitting in the dark. And eventually went into hospital and she died because she was that frail by that point. She didn't have the resources to fight off a chest infection. So, you know, I'm very passionate about this project because I think it would make a difference to families and people like my Auntie Molly that just need that one-to-one personalised support. So, rant over, how does it actually work? We're about to launch our website. It's a 2-year pilot, so we're already 6 months in. Most of that's been doing all the background work and getting everything into place. So it's about things like, we've been working on things like networking. So we've now got 24 people like yourselves that we've been out and spoken to over the last month. Last month we did 15 outreach events, including coming to the Veterans event, the gentleman over here, and down at the Victoria Centre. We've been in Leek, we've been in Waterhouses, we've been in Ipstones, all over the place. Cheadle, Longner. So we're trying to get around all over the moorlands, but this is county-wide. So we're also working in Tamworth and Kinver. So there's a bit of a top, middle and bottom approach going on at the moment. After Christmas, we're moving into Newcastle and Burton because we've got interest over there from people that want to set up. Basically, they will come to us, have their DBS check, so we know that they are reasonably as safe as we can check. They have to sign up to our quality standard, which has been robustly checked by everybody on our steering group. And that is made up of the lead social workers, people from MPFT, John Topham, who's the head of Supported Community World and Social Care World, you know, lots of experts essentially that really know what they're talking about in this sphere. So they've checked this quality standard, and it's really a like code of behaviour about how you should behave if you're a microprovider. It gives us a level of, I don't want to say power, but I can't think of a better word while I'm stood up here, so that if something goes wrong, we can remove them from the scheme immediately. So if anybody has any concerns about the person that's coming into their house, they ring me and that person gets taken off straight away. And if need be, reported to the police and the CQC and all the other bodies that we would need to report them to. There's a really robust safeguarding policy in place. They have to register as self-employed or as a small limited company or a community organisation. But to be exempt from CQC regulation, this isn't a regulated service, it has to have less than 8 people involved. But if we're looking at Somerset as our role model, they've got 80% are self-employed individuals. The rest are generally small community organisations providing services. What was the other thing? DBS. Oh, insurance. They've got to have all the correct insurances. And then there's a whole portfolio of things that we're asking them to have, such as contracts, care plans, medication charts, various policies, for essential ones and a load of others, or depending on what they want to do, training certificates, recommendations, you name it. There's a whole portfolio that the micro-providers really need to provide before they pitch up on somebody's doorstep saying, I can come and help you. So one of the questions I got asked last night was again about the risk. That seems to be everybody's biggest concern. And again, you know, there's 2 years worth of research gone into this. So when they were looking at it at the county level, they assessed the risk of this scheme as opposed to, let's say, a new care home, and they decided that the risks were slightly different, but actually at the same level. And we just needed to mitigate them, which is what all the work's being done at the moment to make sure that's all safe. So the website will be up and running hopefully by next week. It's got videos, it's got resources, it's got singing, dancing, and people, the micro-providers will register on there. They don't go live until I personally have verified them. So I'm going to be looking for their certificates and talking to them and making a judgment call based on what I come across, whether we set them live or not. The hairs are going on the back of my neck. They'll have to prove themselves. I'm joking. They go live, and then it is up to people to go on and actually choose their care provider. A little bit more complicated because that sounds just like a marketing scheme, doesn't it? So we are working, as I say, with the social workers, the social prescribers, and anybody else who might be working with elderly people. We're talking to U3A, local over 60s clubs. We're on the direct payments working groups. You know, lots of organisations signposting in, just waiting for this website to come online so they can start choosing. So where are we now? We've been on the road sort of recruiting for a month, and we're up to 40 micro-providers across the county. 13 people looking for care. Unfortunately, it's not quite a Tinder match just yet in terms of them, you know, fitting each other, but it will come as we recruit more and more people, and we put them through training programs. So in essence, that's kind of it, really. I guess it's a plea, really, so that you're aware of it. If you're out there talking to your constituents and you come across anybody that's having problems with their care, please send them our way. If you want to have a one-to-one conversation, then that's great, get in touch. Sarah's got my details. I did put some leaflets downstairs. I'm not sure if they're still there, if they've all gone. And any questions?
Councillor Retford, please.
It sounds wonderful. Who pays for it?
Okay, so project is paid for by county, but it is not a huge budget. It is me, my colleague 2 days a week, Esther Jones. They have met Esther in the past. We've been doing all the background research, and it pays for things like the DBS checks and things like that. It's not a massive budget, so I'm having to do all the marketing, all the web design, all the outreach, pretty much everything, and then I'll be managing it on a day-to-day basis to give you an idea of, you know, there's not a lot of surplus. In terms of who pays for the actual care, which I think is probably more your question, it all depends on the circumstance. So if you are eligible for a direct payment, you can use your direct payments to pay your micro-provider. If you're not, you can still be helping people to encourage the uptake of attendance allowance, and they could use that money. Otherwise, it is a self-funded thing. But in the vast majority of cases, the examples that's coming through and that we're sort of expecting are not full-time care. It's somebody to come and take you shopping for 2 hours a week. So it's not sort of beyond the realms of possibility. We're suggesting that the rate is about £20 an hour. That would include petrol and expenses and so on. Just bearing in mind the self-employed person will have to pay their own tax. So that is a lot less than most care agencies. Just as an example, when we were sat in the butter market in Leek, there was a couple who came to us, 2 ladies. One was the care recipient. She got a life-limiting illness. She was on direct payments. It was going through the care home. The care home was getting, not care home, care agency, was getting £35 an hour. And the care worker was on minimum wage. So they came to us together saying there's got to be a better way, because this poor woman was working her knuckles to the bone, looking after this lady and earning a pittance. And the care agency were obviously creaming on. Now, given that they have to deal with the national insurance and the pension and so on, you have to make allowances for all those things. But, isn't it nice that some of that money actually ends up in the care workers' pockets? Because then it's not seen so much as a profession that you're not thanked and that you're not worth anything. And it might encourage more people to come into the profession, which is what we need, where they're all struggling to get enough people to manage the high percentage of specifically elderly people that have in their communities.
Thank you.
Question? Yeah.
Yes. Now, with respect, I've now got 4 people who are waiting to make a point, so we'll have to cut time down as much as possible now, please, if you don't mind. Start off with the Deputy Mayor, please.
Yeah, thank you for coming in to speak to us. I personally, I'm a social worker. I work for Stoke City Council, who have had micro providers direct in place now for the last 18 months, 2 years, and it's worked quite successfully for us. I'm very pleased to hear about your accreditation scheme, because that was one of the pitfalls that we kind of had at Stoke, that they don't have to be CQC registered because they're either sole traders or they're a very small organisation, which without a regulatory body, there is risk involved in that. So I'm quite pleased and reassured to hear about that. One of the questions that I did have, and it has been a bit of an issue on occasion from my own experience of working with direct payments, is when they're taking on these micro providers, is the individual that's receiving the care, does they then have the employer's liability that they then become employers?
No.
No,
Yeah,
so
that's the difference.
okay.
Yeah, so as it stands at the moment, if you have PA, you employ that side of things, because these people are going to be employed, they take that responsibility themselves. So you would literally get an invoice at the end of the month that says, I've done 10 hours with you, you owe me £200. Okay. And they have the direct payment goes into their bank account and they use that to pay the bill, providing it meets the outcomes on the care plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. Now turn to Councillor Jones, please.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for coming to speak to us. Councillor Redford's stolen a bit of my thunder. Who pays? Well, you've answered that. But who sets the rate? You say about £20 an hour. Who sets the rate? How do customers pay? Do they get an invoice? So care companies will. Who ensures the safeguards worry me as well? Who sets the skill set? Makes sure the skill set is suitable. You said about DBS checks. That's fine. And you said they won't compete with domiciliary carers. Well, they will compete with domiciliary care companies. That's not an issue. But to say they won't is wrong, because they will. And to compare what this is with the discharge care that somebody gets when they come out of hospital, I've just gone through a similar loop to yourself with an elderly aunt, and she had 4 carers 4 times a day, 4 weeks when she came out, and they were turning up at all different times and all the rest of it, and we ended up paying for private care. So, but that's a short-term thing, and then after that you've got to self-fund unless you're on pension credits and all that sort of stuff. So £20 an hour sounds all right against £35 an hour for domiciliary care, but for a care company. But a care company, don't forget, is paying the insurance, they're paying for training, they're paying for DBS check, paid holidays. What happens when the micro provider goes on holiday for a month? What happens then? How does the punter? I'm throwing lots of stuff at you. There's a lot of holes here. in my perception, and I'm sure you can fill them all up, and I'm not expecting you to do it now, but those are the sort of things I'd like clarifying going forward. It sounds like a cracking scheme. And how does somebody, you know, do you get a list? So you pick the nearest one and try them, or it's all that sort of stuff. Don't try and go through it all now. Those are my concerns.
You're not alone with those concerns. Obviously, I'm aware of time, so it may be that if you want to, we can have a one-to-one chat, but essentially all of those points have been considered. No, it's not regulated. The rate of £20, I'm saying roughly about, we're telling everybody it's £20 unless it's a very specialist skill. So something like, we've had a lady that comes in and she's no tea, you know, she's highly qualified, so you would expect her to charge a little bit more. You know, it's above and above beyond. The rate of 20 has been recommended, I'm going to say roughly in line with direct payments, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's about £16.52, something like that you get per hour. So the notion is then you've only got to find about £3, £4 to top it up if you want to have that level of choice. Yeah. In terms of who's managing the process, that would be us. And I can foresee we're already having conversations that I'm going to have some help. You know, this is already ramping ahead, and I'm just not going to be able to do it all on my own to be able to safeguard everybody. You have to have safeguarding policies. You have to have gone on safeguarding training. If you wanted to do domiciliary care, we'll only allow you to do that if you've actually got the skills and experience to do it. And that might mean that you have to then go and do some training, let's say to college, or go and do your care certificate.
Does that come out of the county budget, that?
No, we've actually found free routes.
The applicant has to pay that?
No, we found free routes for most of the training they will need. So there's a thing called the National Association of Carers and Support Workers. And as I get membership of that, so if they get their DBS through them and they join up as a member, or in negotiations to get a much lower rate for membership, then they can access all that training. But we've also got the Open University, e-learning for health, and the Stoke and Stafford Care Academy are also providing courses. Support Stafford themselves do a lot of courses, and we're doing like first aid and, you know, things about conversations and so on. But in reality, you know, people are worrying a little bit about the risk. The reality is you're highly unlikely to get somebody who's, I don't know, let's say I met a gentleman who was a gardener. He worked in a garden centre. He's not going to want to come and do domiciliary care. He's going to want to use the skills and expertise he's already got and provide a service that's related to that. I've got somebody who used to be a children's social worker and went on and did counselling. So he's a qualified counsellor, and he's looking at being able to take people out for trips outside to nature, along with counselling therapies. People that have perhaps got low level anxiety. You've got specialist people who have been qualified dementia nurses that are looking at doing it. So it's not a case of, you know, any Tom, Dick or Harry can come and do anything. It will be based really on what
there are sort of CV points.
Yeah.
You gave the example of single mum.
Yeah.
You've got a few spare hours. That's probably a bad example.
Yeah.
I think, you know, it's not something you can just do off the, maybe the shopping bit, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
like needs to be the home house.
It sounds like, you know, if it encompassed all my concerns.
Yeah. Okay.
Sarah, may I ask, is some of the information, perhaps this or other, a couple of other questions, going to be on your website?
Most of it will be.
If so, if that's going to be the, yes,
Yeah.
please. Thank you. So bearing that point in mind, may I turn to Councillor Jackson, please?
Yes, I mean, the concept is really good. I mean, for me, who's doing the work should get the money rather than the admin people that are shuffling bits of paper around and creaming it off the top. You're saying not mine, but I thoroughly agree with the concept. One of the things that I chair a group called Biddle Comes Together, Works Together. And we've got probably about 15 different groups that are part of that group. And one of the big issues that they've always got, every one of them said it, is the availability of volunteers. You know, it's a small pool and there's a lot of people fishing in it. The difference with yours is our volunteers, I don't think many of them actually get paid for doing the volunteering. there is some sort of payback with this scheme, which could attract some volunteers that give their time up free, which will have an impact on the groups that already happen. But one of the things I mean, my mother-in-law was 96 when she died. She was in a home for a couple of weeks towards the end of her life. Managed to keep her in her own home for the bulk of the time. But one of the biggest, everybody wants care at certain times of the day. Just 8 o'clock till 9:30, getting them out of bed or putting them to bed, and nobody wants your parents or grandparents going to bed at 6 o'clock in the evening. They want them to stay up at 9, 10 o'clock, and these are the busy times for the care providers. And the demographic you gave of a typical, and that's hard, the typical sort of volunteer that you were looking at would find it difficult to do them sort of hours. After 9 o'clock when the kids have gone to school, yes, they could probably fill in there, but them hours between sort of 7 and 9 would be difficult for them. So I can see that being an issue. You've touched on the funding, so I don't really want to go back on that. Apart from, is this funded through Support Staffordshire, or has it got a separate funding stream from the county council?
Which part?
The part that you're involved with. Support Staffordshire is funded in the main by the county council. So is this funded out of that general fund, or have you got hold of some specific money? Because I mean, adult social care is a massive drain on the county council. It's a very expensive thing, and it takes up a heck of a lot of the money at the county council. So anything that can sort of save money on their budget, I can understand why they're quite happy to try and invest into it. And that's quite right, and that's good. That's a different way of actually funding and looking after our older people. So just on that one, is it a separate funding stream? And could you touch on how many people have we got signed up as volunteers now? I know it's early days. And could I invite you to we got one in January, our next bit of Works Together, because there are a lot of groups there that represent a lot of people that could really, feed you with information for people that might need it, and or potentially a volunteer pool as well.
Yeah, that would be delighted to come along. In terms of where the funding actually comes from, I have to admit, I'm not privy to that. I just know where we've been given, and this is roughly the budget. I am assuming it's coming out of the social care budget, and hence why everybody's so excited about it, is because it would theoretically save public purse, because people will be self-funding. And, that creates a separate debate on its own, doesn't it? Because, should old people have to, or disabled people have to fund their own care? Possibly not, but there is no other silver bullet. So this is probably the best we can come up with at the moment, given that we know it works in other places. And I know you mentioned the Stoke scheme. That's again, it's an organisation called Community Catalysts that deliver the same sort of service, but in multiple counties across the UK. And Stafford County Council did look at it and decided that they didn't want to go down that route. They wanted local delivery, possibly because of the relationship they have with Support Staffordshire, and they know that we will deliver the goods, and they are all involved in our steering group.
Thank you.
So just if our county councils had been either, you might have found this really interesting.
Thank you. Finally, is it Councillor Yates? Did you? The proud love.
For me, is to.
I mean, to be honest, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Jackson's just said what I was going to say. It would have been very good if our county councillors had to be here tonight. That it's a county.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Councillor Yates, please. Councillor Yates, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just reminded of a phrase which I did look up on my phone, attributed to Samuel Johnson, and that is, "Sir, hell is paved with good intentions." And it does worry me a little bit that some of the people who sign up to be the providers of this scheme will, for the reasons very eloquently posted by Councillor Jackson there, they find that they overcome with very, very quiet periods and then very, very busy periods. One thing which concerns me as somebody who has been contracted on a self-employed basis is the hidden costs of that. Everybody potentially those who don't know would see £20 an hour, £20 an hour, that's good, national minimum wage is this, so I can make a decent living now, and it doesn't matter that my day isn't occupied, that's very nice, and this and that and the other. But by the time you've covered your assessment costs, the public liability insurance, professional liability insurance, business car insurance, car maintenance, because you need to be reliable, admin and accountancy costs to make sure that your tax affairs are there, and the costs in time of keeping records, £20 suddenly diminishes into probably less than half of that to have to hand, which again may be adequate for people who are doing it within the time which they do. I can see this working. I do see it as laudable. I see two sides of this, but I do see it as very laudable, and I'm very encouraged by our deputy mayor who works in this profession and her observation that it works very well and it supports an awful lot of people. I see this being very ultra-local in the context that the person down the road who over the years has kept an eye on somebody has a more formal relationship. And that's where I can really see £20 an hour covering this and making it work. I don't see it working if it's a spider's web approach and that person is if you're talking to somebody in Biddulph, 1 minute the Upmouth Cop, next minute, next time it's Biddulph Moor, next time it's Biddulph Park or whatever. I think ultra local and matching people, and again, the potential of matching people with people who know one another, and it gives that augmented support of somebody is actually getting a bit of compensation. I won't call it pay, but a bit of compensation from the time and effort and care which they're doing over and above. I see as absolutely fantastic. The best care provision I've heard stories from is when they've linked up with somebody who is known either directly or indirectly as a reliable person who can be trusted. And if we get a good network which does that, and again, you did a presentation last night at Staff Smalls District Council with slides and things, so it was very good. The one thing which I mentioned, I'd like this to see this expanded out to handyman services and garden services, which you've alluded to, and we had that discussion last night. The handyman services and garden services as well. There's a lot of old people who probably can take care of themselves in the house, but can no longer take care of the house and the wider garden area which they live for. And I think £20 an hour, pop in once every couple of weeks, just make sure everything's settled. I think it's absolutely laudable. There's also an understanding, which is acknowledged and which is fair, that the county do see this as a way of helping control that social services budget, which does get out of hand, which is laudable as long as it's done for the right reasons, which is why I stated that quotation. So it's definitely, to quote something else, it's definitely an eyes wide open thing with good potential.
Thank you. So there's been some feedback there. Thank you. You said your website will be launched next week, and that you're in touch with Sarah. Would you be able to keep Sarah in touch further so she may in turn let us know, please?
Yeah.
And there was also the suggestion, wasn't there, made by Councillor Jackson, that you may be invited to the Biddulph Works Together in January.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
Well,
Brilliant. Thank you very much. One last thing, we do have a Facebook page, so there's more information and videos and something, and giving the indication of some of the early training that things are doing on at the moment.
Thank you.
And it's local help my way.
Local help
My way.
my way. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time, sir. Thank you. Yes. So everyone now, item 59, apologies, please.
So there's Norris Lawton, Eardley, Hart, Stolt and Harper.
Thank you. Now, declarations of interest. First of all, to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests and dispensations. This is where I put my hand up, I believe. This is a section. I'm going to be in receipt of travel expenses and therefore will not vote when it comes to that section. Secondly, does anyone wish to declare any other disclosable interests? No? Yeah. And now we move on to the minutes. Starting off with approving the minutes of the previous Biddulph Town Council meeting. This was the one held on the 14th of October. Going through the sections, those in attendance, and then agenda items 44, 45, 46, 47, several sections there, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, A and B, and those are the minutes. So may I ask those in favour? Proposer, Mr. Councillor Epton, and a seconder, please.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Jones. All in favour? Thank you. Carried.
Please.
You. Next, to receive the minutes of the recreation and amenities. Thank you, Councillor Parks. Is it second? You want me to, I'll go through, those in attendance, also present and in attendance, then agenda items 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, confidential item 44, and confidential item 45.
Seconder.
So is there a seconder, please? Councillor Yates. Those in favour, please. So,
Just to make a quick one on confidential 44, is that now completed?
It's confidential.
Allotment one,
Yeah,
Not completed, is it? Very much. Thank you.
thank you. Next, to receive the minutes of the planning committee.
I'd like to move those minutes, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Garvey. Held on the 21st of October. And those present and in attendance. Agenda items 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and there were no appeals. Agenda item 36. May I have a seconder, please?
I'll second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Those in favour of acceptance? Thank you. Carried by majority. And now to receive the minutes of the Town and Community Committee, meeting on the 21st of October.
In the absence of the chair, can I move those minutes, please, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, councillor Garvey. Those present and in attendance. Agenda items 29, 30, 31, 32, A and B and C and D, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40. And confidential items 41, 52, and emergency item 43. May I have a seconder for that? Yes. Thank you, councillor Redfern. So those in favour of acceptance of receiving those? Thank you. That's carried. And now we move on to the finance and strategy.
Just to note that the wrong dates on there, it should be Tuesday, the 28th of October on the minutes.
Of this, of the finance?
Yeah.
Can I remove those minutes for that correction, please, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Is that?
Yeah.
Please. Thank you. Thank you for that. So those present and in attendance, items 53, 54, 55, 56, A, B, and C, 57, A and B, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, A, B, C, D, and E. Standing agenda item 64, A and B. And then confidential items 65, 66, and emergency item 67. Seconder, please. Councillor Hawley. So may we have those in favour of this? That's carried. That's communication. Added a little bit more to the next item. I'll be as quick as I can. Item 62 on tonight's agenda is Mayor's Communications. And I'm mindful of the fact that there won't be a meeting in December, so I'm bringing the position up to date rather than finishing at the end of October month. This is it. You remember, following my visit to the Citizens' Advice right at the beginning of October, I went on to attend 6 further invited events during that month. 3 of these took place within the town. Firstly, there was the Service Veterans Help exhibition held in the town hall. A wide range of organisations was on hand to provide information and give advice to those seeking it. Next was the funeral of the highly respected former town councillor and mayor, Sylvia Rushton, when I, and I believe 6 other former town mayors, joined the large congregation who attended St John's Church, Knipersley. The third event was the Open Spaces Art Trail, which featured the colourful and uplifting pictures of local artist Ruth Breen. It was held at Biddulph Library, where the mayor delivered a short speech. 3 more events were attended in October, and these were all in the Moorlands. The first of them was the Cheadletown Mayor's Civic Service, which was held at the Church of St Giles the Abbot in Cheadle. Next was Leek's turn, when the Town Mayor's Civic Service was held at St Edward's Church. It was also in Leek that the third event took place. This was the Moorlands Parish and Town Council's networking event and was held at the District Council offices in the town. It provided an opportunity for old contacts to be refreshed and for valuable new contacts to be made. The early part of November, I'm moving to now, for the reasons I've said. The early part of November has seen a number of events. Some of these were occasions when I just turned up, unannounced as it were. The first of these was the chain reaction Ride the Lights cycle ride from Newpool Road along the Biddulph Valley Way as far as the old station at Gillow Heath. An amazing number, I'm told it's 113 cyclists took part on cycles adorned with lights galore. It was an extremely successful event, and much credit is due to all those who organised the various aspects of this and helped to decorate the cycles before the ride commenced. Other unannounced occasions were all held on Saturday morning at the town hall. The Repair Cafe, a regular attraction, was open, together with the launch of the Biddulph Library of Things service, where for very modest cost, people may borrow tools and other items for a few days' use from the Library of Things. Also, there was Mining Memories, where people could make a recording of their memories of the mining industry, which will form part of the town's historical records. This was well supported too. However, the 2 most important events I have attended were put into the diary many months ago. These were the Remembrance Day ceremony and church service on Sunday the 9th of November, and the Armistice Day ceremony this morning, Tuesday the 11th of November. Sunday's event saw many members of the public lining the route of the procession from the town hall to the cenotaph in Albert Square. A large crowd was at the cenotaph, where a short service was held, 2 minutes silence was observed, and where many organisations in the town laid wreaths in memory of the fallen. Proceedings then moved to the Methodist Church, where a further memorial service was held in the presence of a full congregation. Today's Armistice Day ceremony, also at the Cenotaph in Albert Square, was well supported, and we must also be mindful, on Sunday there was a ceremony and service at the memorial down at St. Lawrence's Church. Altogether, Biddle's community, in numerous ways, has certainly been most supportive of this year's remembrance events. Finally, I would say that now that November is rapidly progressing, those distant diary entries for the Christmas season are nearly with us. It looks like it's going to be a busy time. Thank you. If no one wishes to say anything, I will move on to agenda item 63, to receive a response from the County Council in relation to the installation of flags on County Council property. And in the pack is a print of their response. As it was Councillor Garvey who raised this matter in detail at last council meeting, I would ask Councillor Garvey if he'd like to update us with the position and his views upon it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the response that the Town Council received to the Leader of Staffordshire County Council's response. I'm sure we've all read that and have comments on it. But first, I'd like to provide a bit of context to my original proposal. Earlier today, I, along with the Mayor, several other councillors, officers of the Council, and members of the public, gathered at the Biddle Cenotaph to commemorate Armistice Day. During the time of prayer and reflection, led by our fellow councillor, the Reverend Yan Yan Case, we considered the causes of many of those wars and conflicts: intolerance and hatred. We only need to look back to that point currently on the edge of living memory in the 1930s Germany, where a charismatic leader of a fiercely nationalistic party used the scapegoating of minority groups to stir up fear and division. Sadly, we all know how that ended. The current situation with Operation Raise the Colours, the Raise the Colours campaign, while it may not seem as extreme, has the same underlying message of intolerance and division. And that was the point of my original proposal. In his letter, the leader of the County Council tells us we should be proud to fly our national flags, and I agree. We have it outside our town hall. There are several in this room who have that flag flying in their own gardens. Many people fly that flag, but that's not the issue here. One of our local county councillors, who unfortunately can't be with us tonight, has gone on record on social media stating that he does not find our national flags offensive. And I'm inclined to agree with him. However, using them as a divisive symbol of white national identity, now that is truly abhorrent and offensive to many people in this country, including me. In his letter, the leader of the County Council states that flags must be hung and flown safely and in line with their protocols. I think we all can see from the pictures taken of the colour raisers that safety was not a serious consideration for them, hanging out of a makeshift cage on a moving vehicle. Furthermore, flying the Union flag upside down, as many of the flags are, is specifically prohibited by those very protocols. The leader of the County Council explicitly stated that flags will only be removed if they are a danger to the public. And as we've seen this week, this message has resulted in a further wave, if you excuse the pun, of flag flying. Well, when members of the public feel unsafe in their hometowns, I believe that constitutes a danger to them, and that alone justifies their removal. What the leader of Staffordshire County Council has not included in his letter are the answers to the very specific questions that we, Biddulph Town Council, asked of him. Was permission to attach the flags to county council assets requested in advance of the action? Did the county council grant that permission? If the answer is no, these flags are illegal and do not comply with the national guidance for flag flying, and so by definition cannot be compliant with the county council's protocols and need to be removed. Therefore, I would propose that once again we ask the chief officer to write to Staffordshire County Council, both the leader and the chief executive, requesting answers to our very specific questions, and to insist if the flags were raised illegally, that they be removed immediately. That would be my proposal. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for presenting that, Councillor Garvey. I invite comments. Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, I would love to second that. Jim has touched every single base that I was going to say. The illegality point, he doesn't touch on that at all in his letter, and obviously it's something he doesn't want to touch. So I fully agree we should write to him again, thanking him for his letter, and as been very eloquently put by Councillor Garvey, answer those specific questions.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to make a contribution? Councillor Yates.
Yes, only to wholeheartedly agree with both of the sentiments expressed. How anybody thinks balaclava-clad individuals sneaking around in the dark, hosting at half-mast, scruffy, imported, supposed representations of the national symbol is an absolute disgrace. Shouldn't be condoned under any circumstances.
Thank you. If I may just add a little observation. On a recent visit to Congleton, I noticed in a handful of cases there's an additional flag as well as the approved flags has been raised. I think that was to do with remembrance, but that is now today sees the last of that for this year. So one presumes that they ought to be removed in any case. I thought that, just throw that in just as a detail point. Please. Deputy Mayor.
My concern is also that we're coming to a time of year where, you know, these flags aren't really going to hold up to the weather whatsoever. They're held on with cable ties that aren't really going to do the job. I mean, what is it going to take? Is it going to take one of these flags to fly off with a bit of wind, hit a windscreen and cause an accident before they'll seriously take them off? And I do think that, you know, we need to really have a consideration for public safety. And I think that really needs reiterating that the quality and how they've been affixed to the lamppost will not hold up to British weather.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson.
I was just going to touch on that there's 4 appeared to do with Remembrance Sunday on the 4 lampposts on the large roundabout on St John's Road. And I drove past them and I thought, well, I don't know what the protocol is, how long sort of our poppies are going to stay on the front, but I know they're not going to be there, you know, for much longer. So I just sort of appeal to whoever put them up there that whenever that time has elapsed, when sort of we are taking our poppies down from the front here, that they should think about removing them as a mark of respect, not as a mark of decrying, you know, that these brave men and women who gave the ultimate sacrifice. But for them to be there for month after month after month after month, to me, belittles what they did. I haven't got a real problem with them being there at all. But the people who put them there, and I hope they're watching this when it does go out, I hope they'll take it upon themselves after a reasonable length of time, and I'm talking sort of days rather than weeks rather than months, that they actually remove them and keep them for next year.
Yeah, thank you. And because you're suggesting that by a direct appeal, you're hoping.
Yeah, I'm not saying it
goes.
goes in the letter, that's probably got nothing to do with it, but.
Oh, but yes, but valid point. Thank you. Is that so? We've got a proposer, and have we had a second?
Yeah.
Yes, we have seconded for Councillor Garvey's proposal. Could you just reiterate the proposal so we know what we're voting for, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the proposal was that once again, we ask the Chief Officer to write to Staffordshire County Council, both the leader and the Chief Executive, requesting answers to all our specific questions that were raised in the first letter, where we were quite specific about whether the permission was obtained in advance, and if permission was requested, was it given? Because when we quite clearly look at the flying flags guidance that the government puts out there, one of the key things is that in order to raise a flag, you must have permission of the owner of the site on which they are displayed. So that is a prerequisite to raising flags. If that hasn't been met, then the protocol has not possibly been met because it is illegally raised. So the proposal is to write again, requesting answers to the civic questions, which we can restate if that would be clearer for the Chief Officer to restate those, and insist that if the flags were raised illegally, that they are removed immediately. And that is at the insistence of Biddulph Town Council, representing the majority of Biddulph people. Thank you.
Thank you. So that,
Mr. Mayor.
yes. Shall we vote?
At the end there,
Please. So ask for those in favour of the motion to send that. And I think that's unanimous, isn't it? Thank you. Thank you very much. We now move on to item 64, the standing agenda items, 3 of them, and I go to the Chief Officer, please.
I've got no updates on A or B, unless anybody has any queries for me on that. Nope. Do you want me to move on? C?
C, yes, please.
The Biddulph Works Together project have come up with another fabulous booklet, which will be going out in the Biddulph Times towards the end of this week and start of next week. It's an A3 sheet, as it has been in previous years, which is absolutely chocker, full of amazing events and activities for people where they can have free food, warm spaces, and activities that will help to tackle some social isolation issues. One of the things that we felt it would be relevant to raise in this meeting was brought to our attention by the representative from Biddulph Library. There is currently a county council consultation on libraries across the county area. There are a number of questions to complete. There's a drop-in session later in the month, and they were urging us to complete that. As a Biddulph Works Together group, I'm sure Councillor Jackson will add more to this. There was very strong feeling about the importance of Biddulph Library and that being a managed library rather than a volunteer-led library. And the group very much felt that that should come across in the consultation. I think that's...
Yeah, that's touched virtually every single base, but she hasn't put over, I don't think, the feeling, the strength of feeling, certainly that I chairing that meeting had. I've done this consultation, and as far as I'm concerned, the county council have got a different agenda. They are highlighting the pluses that other libraries that have gone down the community route have gone down. What I try to highlight, along with all the people that were there, that every single one of them groups has a problem getting volunteers. That's their biggest thing. The county come along now, in the library potentially to be run by, potentially run by volunteers. So I would urge all members of the council to dig out this consultation and fill it in and highlight the problem that community groups have already got, finding volunteers to run the stuff that's already running in Biddulph now without adding to it. It's a brilliant asset. It's more than just a library. A lot of other stuff now. It's a community asset, and it's something that I think the county, I don't know for sure, but I've been in politics long enough when an organisation puts out a consultation, that they normally know what they want to do before the council consultation comes back anyway. So I've got a real worry that the county council have potentially got their eyes on getting rid of our fully trained and highly skilled librarian staff and trying to replace them with volunteers, which I would guess they would struggle to find even more. You expect.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Jackson. And may I just jump in at this moment and add a little bit to what Councillor Jackson said, who was urging or inviting or urging us to all respond to the survey. And it's this. In the survey, one of the early questions is, and it lists 40-odd libraries in Staffordshire, and the request is that the respondent indicates 3 libraries that they use most, not up to 3, 3. Therefore, I feel that encourages respondents perhaps to include the library that they use most often and a couple more that they use once every Preston Guild. And who's to know which are they necessarily referring to in their replies to the other questions? So I would urge people, because there's lots of opportunity in the survey for free type answers, they're not all yes, no, tick the box type answers, so I would urge people when completing the survey to make it clear, if you're speaking on behalf of Biddulph or about Biddulph Library, to get that written in somewhere, please, to make it quite clear. Because of that, as I say, I think, like, limitation of that previous question. Thank you. Councillor Garvey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was just to make another slightly ironic observation that we're discussing a county council issue here, and it would have been very useful to have the county councillors present to comment on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just an afterthought, really. Like I say, I encourage individual councillors to do this. But perhaps could we put this on one of our committee meetings as an agenda item, and actually perhaps go through the consultation and come to a consensus that the town throw its weight behind as a town council response to the county council survey. I think it might have a little bit more, hopefully a bit more weight than individuals as well. Would that be done, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. So, advised that the Town and Community Committee may well be the appropriate one. So I would offer that bit.
I'll second that proposal for Councillor Jackson. It goes on Town and Communities Committee for further discussion.
Yes. So we take a vote on that proposal then, please. Those in favour? Clearly carried.
Yeah.
Thank you. So that's that. Now, item 65, to receive an update on outside body meetings held since October 2025. Only outside bodies including Biddulph in Bloom, Moorlands Assembly, Staffordshire Parish Councils Association, Moorlands Partnership Board, the Twinning Association and Fair Trade. Is there anyone who got any contributions to make on behalf of those? Councillor Garvey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had the privilege of being able to attend the Fair Trade Group's AGM yesterday, in fact. And I think they're a small group, but they are working very well. Unfortunately, the observation was met, the report was made that the Fair Trade Foundation have now moved their support to helping farmers diversify, so there's less support available to groups like the Town's Fair Trade Group. But at the events this year, the poster competition, the schools poster competition was very well supported, with all the first schools and I think the English Martyrs Primary School taking part in that. There was a comment that originally that had been thought to be used for the promotion for the homegrown and handmade, and that didn't actually happen, but I think that would be nice if we could ensure if that's done again next year that happens. And at the same time, the group said their intention would be to support that if the homegrown and handmade event happens again in the autumn, which I believe it will. I'm looking across at the events officer over there. Then they would like to again be involved in that. While the competition that they ran had sporadic support in some of the classes, it was reasonably well supported. And I think there are plans in which how they can encourage greater involvement going forward in the year before the next event. So that will be one of their events for the coming year, along with the schools competition. And hopefully possibly an opportunity to run some workshops or demonstrations in much the way that I think is planned for the spring event by the yarn bombing group. So, there is also a point that the Fair Trade Fortnight is still retaining in September, but obviously the schools activities tend to take place in the historic time of the end of February, March. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that comprehensive report, Councillor Garvey. Are there any reports on any of the others, please? Councillor Rogers, please.
Mr. Mayor, the Staffordshire Parish Council Association at Stafford last week happened. That's the tenders otherwise engaged, but it will be their AGM later this month, and we'll be attending that and report back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I might add that I'm reminded, I think, every time we ask about these things, that I'm actually the representative of the Town Council on the Twinning Association. Well, I understand that there is their meeting tomorrow evening, which I hope to attend.
Thank you.
Now we move to item 66, the accounts and finance. Two sections to this. Firstly, the data that's provided is an integral part of your packs. Secondly, the supplementary sheet. So we're first going to address the data that's within the pack. Councillor Hawley, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm sort of looking at it, and we've got two items under credit card. One from Argus, she's got a load of items for the library of things for £771. We've also got one from Screwfix, which is for a load of items, the library of things again, for £241.28. Now, if you have a look in your minutes the previous month, basically, we've got one for Argus for all those things for £771. We've got one for Screwfix for all those things for £201.06. So, A, are they duplicates, which is right.
Yes.
We haven't had to pay the bill twice, have we?
No, we absolutely haven't. No, we have spotted that since the papers have gone out. So we'll remove that from the document this month, because as you quite rightly say, we did in fact pay it last month. So that's fine. We'll remove that. Thank you.
Councillor Yates, please.
Yes, not so much a sort of a general query. Octopus Energy Electricity Town Hall, 1,158.88. I'm just interested on how that equates to the previous couple of years to see what the trend is, because I think prices have dropped, and that should reflect on whether some of the energy improvements we've done with LED lights and things have started to kick in on a bearing. So I think for the appropriate committee, probably finance, it'd be interesting to see a nice little graphic just to show the direction of travel, because as well it has been noted at Staffordshire Mullins District Council the importance of energy improvements around the district council's assets, and although this is leased to the town hall, those who represent Biddulph did make a strong play about ensuring that we have appropriate insulation, heating systems, and so forth to future-proof the building and keep costs under control. So I think that would be a useful document.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there any other points regarding the first part of this then? So may we?
Proposal seconded.
Proposer, Councillor Garvey.
Subject to the amendment that the Chief Officer has mentioned.
Thank you.
Propose them as they are. Thank you.
Yeah. Seconder.
Councillor Cardlow.
Proud. Thank you. So may we have a vote, please? Those in favour of acceptance? Thank you, everyone.
Apart from you.
I have, yes, please note that I've withheld my vote for the reasons I mentioned earlier. Now we move on to 66 item B, which is the supplementary sheet. Are there any comments and observations on this one, please? No. In the absence of those,
Move it.
right, propose seconder, please, councillor Garvey. So may I have a vote in favour of acceptance there? Thank you, that's majority carried. So both are accepted, and that's it, isn't it?
Yes.
I think that concludes our agenda now, and the time at 7, I think just about 7:55, declare the meeting closed. Thank you all for watching.